Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Lost in the Ether. This is going to be, I think, our third video in recording. We post every Saturday if you guys are interested in checking out our videos on time, but we make sure to get these videos up at least noon on Saturdays if I can edit it out properly. And hopefully soon we can start streaming these talks on our Twitch channel. But that's still in the works, and we'll let you guys know when we officially start that. I'm having issues with my internet at home, so it's kind of getting a little unfortunate on that. But anyways, today we are continuing what we were talking about in our last video, as in going through each of our perfect games and then discussing ways we can improve upon them. And to get things started, I'm going to introduce you guys to two people. You already met Cody in our last videos. He'll be going first, but I want to introduce you to one of our other friends, Mike. And he'll be popping in periodically in our podcast, depending upon when he's free. So without further ado, I'll let Cody have the floor.
How's it going, guys? It's really good to have Mike on here. Good to have Eric and Spencer on here too. Really good group of guys, and we all just enjoy video games a lot. Like Mike had said before we got on, he's more of a solo gamer, which is something that I like to do for my streams. Is usually just play like an RPG, um, a sandbox game, survival game, just because I like to put myself to the test, like on the hardest difficulty just on stream, for either laughs or for those moments that I actually do something spectacular. But to get started on, I guess we were going to start talking about our perfect games. I guess before I get started on my perfect game, I kind of want to know, Mike, like, I know that I'm going to start with my idea and expand on that, but I want to know, like, at least kind of what your style of a perfect game would be as well. Like, for me, it's an RPG, but I'm
Yeah,
curious to see what yours is.
yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. I'm actually currently running through a survival run of Skyrim right now. So with
Oh,
no mods, no nothing other than just the
Wait, no
survival
mods? What are
setting
you
with
doing, man?
backpacks.
that's
I am
beautiful.
I have never actually ever since I've had Skyrim on my system, I have never gotten any of the trophies or anything in Skyrim because I've always had mods on. So the only way to get those is the Creation Club stuff and no mods.
All right.
So I got pretty much just the Creation Club option of survival with a backpack and camping. So you have some type of options there. And found out it's a little more rough than a list of mods letting you pretty much do whatever you want right out the gate. So I kind of like the survival challenges. Those are
That's a really cool way to look at it because I'm something I was talking to Spencer and Eric about last time was what I really enjoy is just sweating. I really do. So something I'm doing right now. Interesting, you said that about Skyrim, which is another one of my favorites. I'm doing Fallout 4 right now,
Ooh.
and I'm gonna do it on survival. Um, and I'm just doing a melee character.
Oh,
She has just fist and melee items and explosives, and that's just I'm kind of going for a character that's all drugged out on Psycho and Jet because I just like to mess with the effects of the game. So I want to see like how much better the combat can be, the endurance is up, and I'm just running through that. And honestly, it's pretty tough because you can't fast travel. You have to, sleep to save. But it's
oh,
been nice. You have to look at your thirst and eat. Um, so it's been definitely a lot of fun doing the survival gig.
tell me you're at least taking the opportunities when you find those like partial built power armors that you're just grabbing that up and
Oh
using
yeah, dude.
whatever
There's
batteries in it.
there's nothing better to me. Like honestly, I go back and forth between liking power armor and not liking it. But something that's really cool is in the beginning of the game, since my strength was so high,
Yeah.
I wasn't on survival yet. I'm actually making a new character to do survival, so I can just start from the very beginning on it. But I fought the Deathclaw in the beginning in power armor and only using my fist, and it was the coolest experience ever. It was like getting in a mech and fighting like Godzilla. So that was a lot of fun. But if I don't use the power armor, I do definitely sell those fusion cores for those caps, man.
Oh yeah.
Gotta get those caps.
We'll even keeping just one on you just for that off chance of finding that partial build.
That's true. That's very true. I guess like to get started on what my perfect game would be, for me, it would definitely be an RPG style game, but something that I've wanted in a Fallout style game or a Skyrim style game is the decision to do a full passive playthrough. I played this really cool game called Undertale. And that game, you can do a full passive playthrough in it without killing or harming anything. So I'm thinking to myself, what if you could have that kind of playthrough in a game like Fallout 4, where you could just use dialogue to persuade every situation and use kind of like a psychological thriller, just use your psyche to run the game rather than actually having to harm or kill anything. Even when it comes to animals and super mutants and death claws. So I'm wondering if you can do, have a perfect game where you can have the option to kill, you can have the option to, you know, have sex or take drugs or, basically anything, but you get to choose whether you want to do those things or whether you want to just completely go passive.
So like
But
the
it would still have
reverse
a
of
survival aspect.
so like the reverse of a New Vegas, where you could kill everybody. Instead, let's have the option to not actually kill anybody.
Yes, just being able
I'm
to, whether it's directly dialogue related or whether you do some stuff behind the scenes and persuade people in an evil way to make something happen,
Well, my
like
question
go
would be,
really political with it.
how would you define the combat then? Would you define the combat as incapacitation, or would you define that as no combat at all?
I think that you could add incapacitation in the combat for the passive playthrough but it wouldn't count as the passive playthrough. What I'm saying is you would have incapacitation, but you would also have the ability to kill or harm in a more extreme way. And it would be like Fallout New Vegas, where you could have good natured at the end of it, or whatever the Prophet one or whichever one you didn't, you did the best route and made all the good decisions, except this would be not harming anything. And the moment you incapacitate someone, that counts as potential harm. And
Oh,
then
so
that
like
would
an
be where
achievement
you
kind of
would
thing
start.
too.
It would be an achievement thing because I'm big
Okay.
on achievements. I like going for those, like just like Mike, I'm sure does, since he's playing on survival and doing Skyrim without mods. I'm sure part of the reason is to get the achievements and be able to have the platinum, because getting platinum on a video game for me is just super fun.
That,
And
it's also that feeling of like playing survival and things like that. Every little thing you do matters. Everything you pick up, everything you like, the time that you get to an inn, you're more invested in that getting to that spot because you have to sleep there. You might want to check their inventory to see if they have something to eat for the route that you're going to have to take.
Mm-hmm.
Those kind of things kind of actually matter in a survival setting as opposed to just fast travel to the next location, beat them up, eat 10 pounds of cheese, and then fast travel back to the main port.
What,
yeah,
you
it
don't
would
want
be much
massive
more
constipation?
satisfying if you were,
No. But
or yeah,
one thing I was wanting to mention when you were talking about the full passive made me think of a wasteland edition of a beautiful bard. Instead of actually fighting the dragon, you seduce the dragon.
that would be
That
amazing.
that kind of aspect of like you have stats to make yourself more appealing, whether it's being able to talk your way out of a situation, like speech, just not affecting your pricing at a market, and just a persuasive intimidate, but having other dialogue options open up to you because you are that much more persuasive.
That
Now,
would
when
be
you say
awesome because
seduce,
what
are
if
you talking
what
about
if there
like
was a
just simply
shout?
subduing it, or are you talking like Donkey and Shrek kind of seduction?
Like, instead of being able to pacify a Deathclaw to the point where it's not only does it not attack you, but it might actually follow you around and want to keep you safe.
That
Hmm.
would be amazing. And what if you could use your dragon shout to do that as well,
Yeah.
to let it follow you around?
Yeah.
And what if there were this specific shout to be, it could be called, passive or whatever.
Well,
Say it's called
They already technically
you
do,
started
but
seeing
not
that
to that
towards
extent.
the end of their DLCs, but it was like a way watered down version of what
Yeah.
you'd want out of it.
Right. And what if you could get that in the beginning of the game, but maybe it was a little harder to obtain? Maybe the area it's in, you have to make a lot of decisions on whether you're going to sneak or whether you're going to kill. And if you do get the shout, all the enemies that are in that area of where the shout was obtained, you can just use to either persuade or be passive for a few seconds until it gets stronger. And then the stronger the shout gets, the longer you can pacify someone, or you can get to a point where you max it out and pacify a creature fully to obey you, or you could use it to pacify a human fully to obey you. But there can also be an evil route in the passive route where you psychologically use your skills to manipulate others in a poor way. So it can still be an evil route, the passive route, but it could be an evil dialogue route. So you
So
don't
like,
kill anyone, but you definitely use your words to make disasters happen.
yeah, like a silver tongue kind of achievement.
Yes, so that's my version of the perfect video game, an RPG that focuses on survival and just really dialogue, but also gives you the option to kill if you want to. So you can do different character builds, not just a passive character, but you could even do a psycho character who is, sometimes persuasive and sometimes just kills, and that kill doesn't make the quest fail, but you get a different achievement for that quest. It's not a failure quest, but it's more of a different achievement. So then the players can get the feel of, oh, do I want to platinum in a good way? Or actually, no, if you want to platinum, you have to do all the different builds, of course. But I don't know. That would be a cool game to me, and it would be something I could stay on for about 4 years plus.
Like having the option to seduce the mayor of, like, because you said you were playing Fallout 4, being able to seduce the assistant to the mayor of Diamond City to assassinate them to prove their love to you. Like,
Yes, that would be a
something like
great
that where
evil route.
yeah.
And then you could use it to have her, or you could use it on the mayor directly or her to persuade in a good way for the town to become more prosperous. Something I was hoping was that maybe Diamond City could use its resources to expand and start getting all the buildings around Diamond City built up for the people that are in the settlements, and bring the settlements in the city and take the city back over, since there's more shelter there and it's not in the wasteland. I was hoping that would have been an option in Fallout 4. Bring all the settlers in the city, take over the city, rebuild the city,
You're giving
and then
Bethesda
work on getting the
way too much
wasteland
credit
rebuilt.
here.
Hey, I'm
Yeah,
talking about
well,
my perfect game. I'm not
I
talking
know,
about
but like
Bethesda's
Bethesda
perfect
would
game.
never think that far ahead.
Well, it's not supposed to be about Bethesda. It's supposed to be it's Cody's. So
No,
it's,
I know, but like when people say I
Right.
was expecting this, like, don't. It's Bethesda. They did the bare minimum as far as gameplay goes. All right, your perfect game is
It's
better
true.
than Bethesda's game.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Using references and concepts of games that we've been playing to kind of show off the aspects that we're looking for, but better than what I've been getting
Absolutely.
off of this conversation.
And honestly, that's really it for me on the perfect game. I mean, other than that, I would want the perfect game to be in a setting that has both buildings, like in a setting like California that has a mixture of a populated town, and that's pretty much it. That's where I would want it set, and
Plus, California would have the nice environmental
yeah,
aspect to it.
yeah, and then you would have the nice environmental aspect, but you'd also have the big city, so you could kind of take your character either way. You don't necessarily have to explore both, but you could explore both, but you'll still get the same achievements for both. And
Fallout Santa
then,
Monica.
you can pick whether. But yeah, I mean, if we want to toss it over to Mike now, I'd like to hear his perfect version of a game, because that's pretty much it for me.
All right. Well, you've pretty much covered everything I'd want out of an RPG. Like if solo play, being able to do a survival, having every option available to you. Like if you think it up, like I played D&D for a while, and having the ability to just think of something, be like, I want to grab that filing cabinet and chuck it at their head because I'm a barbarian and I'm pissed off. Like
Yes.
having something like that is awesome. Having more options than you could even think of. Like those kind of things were kind of cool. Seeing that kind of stuff in VR was awesome. Being able to do that kind of stuff, it kind of was sad with Bethesda's games of like Skyrim. You go to pick up something and you still click on it and you're not actually grabbing it to pick it up. But
Yeah.
to go away from my normal genre, I do kind of like my zombie games. And it
Ooh.
sounds weird, like Dying Light was amazing to me. Playing through that a couple times, just parkouring over
You're
stuff.
excited.
And what?
You're excited for 2 then, I bet.
Oh yeah, that I liked it because it was an RPG, but it was also zombie survival. You also had to make sure your weapons were well maintained. That kind of stuff got broke down. I don't remember if I believe there was fast travel, but I didn't really use it. Parkoured through the city.
Wait,
It
was there
was
fast travel in that?
awesome. I think
I
like
don't.
major areas you could fast travel to another, but I don't
Okay.
remember. It's been a while since I played it.
Because like when I
I
first
just
played that
remember.
game, what I
Oh no,
really
it
liked
wasn't.
was the first person aspect of it. And
It wasn't fast travel. You're right.
yeah, because I don't remember ever doing a zoom selection or anything like that. So, but I
It,
think what was really good
what
about
I'm
that game
thinking
was
of
the
is
first person
DLC.
perspective at all.
Yeah, and that's one thing I do like about RPGs. I've never been a fan of like the third person RPG because I like to feel like I'm in that position and seeing what they see. I understand the concept of wanting that, having the area, feeling like you're controlling a group, kind of like Dragon Age, how that's a group of
Yes.
players,
That's super fun.
and that's the kind of same concept I get off of like State of Decay. Uh, that's another zombie game that my kind of I'm trying to think of the word. My ideal zombie game would be kind of a cross between State of Decay and Dying Light, where you have the options of like your weapons are decaying, you're degrading, so you have to make sure you have a list of things that are good. But I would like to see a food and water and sleep aspect. Like you do have resources you need. You can't run for 48 to 72 hours just straight and not have any repercussions.
What, you're not
So a
Usain
health
Bolt?
bar,
What is
in other
this?
words.
Yeah, yeah. Well, not just like a health bar, but similar to like the survival settings, like your mental state starts decaying while you're staying awake for too long. Like
Okay.
first it might be your muscles are more fatigued, so you can't get as much of a climb. You're not able to climb as fast. Then you start seeing like if you stay up a little bit later, if you start missing food meals, you've been exhausted. You might start slipping on your climbs. You might start
Right.
having like getting a little bit of blurred vision. Like it takes a little bit more for your screen to focus while you're turning around corners or trying to look through stuff. Your eyes have a harder time adjusting at night. And then if you're staying up like a day and a half to 2 days, you start hearing random shit.
Or seeing
Like,
things that aren't
yeah,
there.
yeah, because you're in a heightened sense of fear state. Like zombies around you, anything could be anywhere. But having it where also you have single player lives, and that was the weird one for me. Would be like you get a random choice. You could be just a general guy at like Walmart, or a like a retired military officer, or a
Right.
police officer, or a fireman. They have their own passive skills, but at the same time, you also have your actual player skills, not your character skills, that are leveling up, giving you other bonuses, uh, building kind of like the Dying Light or State of Decay, how each person had their own strengths and weaknesses. Having that same concept, but also being a player, having passive things that like leveling up, and you mess with a military guy for so long, so next time you actually end up with a military officer, they know a little bit more things. They know they're not just a recruit; they've been a seasoned veteran
Okay.
and that kind of stuff. And being able to actually real time go back to the spot your character died, and depending on how they died, like if they fell off the wall of something, splattered their skull on the ground, you can just loot their stuff off the ground. You might have to fight off a horde of zombies that have just migrated to it and started picking the bones. Or
Right.
if you were bit and you were infected, you didn't do anything about it, you couldn't do anything about it, and now you're part of a horde, and you actually got to get your backpack from your previous character off them. You still have your personal player understanding.
Right. And I know from Astroneer, one of my games that I play, when you die, you can then, it gives you this kind of icon, or a compass icon of where your body is, and then you can just go and get your stuff back. So similar things. The other thing I want to point out is when you get kind of that heightened sense of alert of certain sounds, the program or the game could notice that you've been up for several hours, or you're depleted with you're hungry, or you're dehydrated or whatever, and it could then throw certain sounds toward your way to just kind of just throw you off, pretty much.
Also making like sneaking and get rummaging through your stuff, like actually getting in your backpack, like not being able to just check your inventory every 5 minutes, check what you've got, because every time you do, you make a little bit more noise, and the more exhausted, the more tired, the more
Anxious.
desperate you are, the more desperate of situation, the more you're going to rummage through that, having a fear factor. Having a hidden or a semi-hidden fear scale would be kind of a cool aspect to see in them, because most of the time when you play those games, other than the little bit of voice acting you get, you don't really get that much of an aspect of a fear off your character. You don't see quivering, you don't see like issues like that. Like my
Right.
character was climbing skyscrapers, walking across like tight ropes, and was stone cold. I'm sorry, like having the aspect of being able to build that up in a character, or
Right.
having to get used to that, would make more sense on that.
And it's not even
That
that
would
difficult of a
be
thing to
really
do.
awesome.
No.
No, it's not.
And like that
I
could those kind of things can be passed into the player passive skills that are passed on. Like you start now with a military recruit. I keep going to the military because that would be the one that would have the most like
Yeah, roles
dispatching
or
skills.
skills. Yeah.
Yeah. Like a fireman could get into a building and get out kind of stuff, or being able to get a burglar or something. But going up in those skills gives you more of like a recruit is going to have more of an issue with those kind of things. But if you get like a Navy SEAL, like not a Navy SEAL, trying to think of what like Spec Ops, getting somebody that was in that kind of thing is going to have more of a ability to take care of that situation, and leveling up, you could see more of those skills build up.
That would be really awesome, and it would be nice to have a character that doesn't have as much composure. It's kind of like I play a lot of horror survival as well, and I'll play Dead by Daylight,
Oh yeah.
or I'll play Friday the 13th, and those characters have a certain Dead by Daylight, it's not called composure, it's how quiet they are. But on Friday the 13th, the game, of course, that they have a composure level, and it would be really cool to have a character that you could mess with the composure of. And even just to throw in one more thing on mine, perfect RPG, something I wanted to see from Fallout 76, which I didn't see, was a 4 player to 2 player co-op
Oh, yeah.
instead of battle royale, because this way one person could work on dialogue, one person could work on endurance and strength, and you could have different characters specials incorporated into the whole story itself, persuading the story and kind of choosing which way. And you could even get to a point where, say, you, me, Spencer, and Eric are all playing, and I decide, no, I want to go with the Institute. Like, that was my first route because I want to go with what my son was doing. I go with the Institute. You go with the Brotherhood. Spencer goes with the Railroad, and Eric
Whoa, whoa,
goes with
whoa!
the
No, no, no!
Minutemen.
I'm
You
Minutemen.
know,
Don't lump me in with the railroad, okay? Don't do that. Don't do that to me.
I'll do Eric with the Railroad.
Thank you.
And it would just be really cool if there was a game that you could end that way, or you could all end together, or you could end with 3 people on the same thing and 1 person on the other. I would just really enjoy that because Fallout has always done a really good job with their ending cinematics. So if they could, if we could have a 4 to 2 player game with a co-op RPG, that would make the cinematics at the end even better. And just knowing that you and your friends are both making decisions that weigh the story would be really cool.
Well, what would be even better
Well-
with that would be something like so for instance, let's say, using Fallout as the example, let's say if we had me and Eric on the Brotherhood and you and Mike on the Institute, we would actually have to kill each other at some point in that playthrough. And that would actually decide what the actual ending would be, whoever won that fight, particularly.
That would be awesome.
I tell you right now, I'll probably be the first one to die.
Nah, you haven't seen my skills.
Well,
You could
that's
be
why
the
I was putting
dialogue person.
Cody and me on different teams to sort of balance things out with that because, I mean, Brotherhood of Steel with power armor, that's sort of the be-all, end-all of discussions here.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Plus,
See,
Prime.
that could have easily been implemented for a co-op Skyrim Fallout by just having the simple aspect of second player now can take control of the follower. Like if you have a follower, you can have a friend be on their system. They can choose to join a game, and their actual they just choose once they join your game, they have their own skill tree and stuff that levels up your your follower skill tree. That doesn't actually affect your NPCs, but when another player is actually joining you, whether it's the same guy or 17 different players, that second player skill tree is leveling up based on what they've used. And the actual perks that are taken dump out at the end, so they can actually take those perks and implement them to whatever skill they want to use next time. But the stats of I'm playing Skyrim right now, so that's in my head. But smithing or one-handed or archery are still at level 17, 24, and 36. But you can take those stats and those skill points or perk points and put them in wherever you want. But you actually have to get that skill built up. If nobody's ever played a mage as your follower, that person, if they want to play a mage, they have to build up mage.
That would be really, really cool.
I mean,
That's
the
something
thing is,
that I would love. And then also, you could have items on you that you could give to your other companions or players that could help boost their armor / even boost enchantments or whatever.
Yeah. Well, already we're playing. When I play with a follower, I've got my last set of gear that I had on me that ends up on the follower. So it wouldn't be too out of line to be like, "Hey, you want to join me on here? I can give you a set of armor real quick, or I've got a crap ton of stuff in this house. We can smith you something to fit your play style, and get going."
you see, I
be
don't
really
think that's a
cool.
bad idea, but the problem with this, and if we want to equate this with the perfect game, then yes, I completely agree with what you guys are talking about. But it sort of runs into the issue of then it's not really Fallout anymore. It's it's just a multiplayer game at that point. It's almost like there's no difference between that and Destiny to some extent. So it stops being an RPG at that point because all you're doing then is just running quests with your friends. You're not actually role playing the way you want to.
Well, you can still role play what you want to do, but it's not an MMO. It's more of a co-op, like kind of like Gears of War, except you get
That
to
was my game.
And if you've
persuade
ever
dialogue.
seen your follower in those games, they're not doing the play style you want to play anyway.
Yep, that's true.
Like I've had an art, like I choose what's his name, Fendal from the very beginning of the game. He's supposed to be an archer. Next thing I know, he's running up to the bandits with a great sword, taking people down, and I'm like, we were back here sneaking, and now you're in their face, alerting everybody that we're here.
That's awesome, actually.
That kind of stuff, like, so
not awesome, but it's hilarious
But
that's just what occurred.
seeing a friend all of a sudden, like, you have them as Fendal, where like, hey, I've been running an archery run, and then having your friend all of a sudden you turn around, they're in full dwarven armor, running at them with a warhammer. It's like, hey, what the hell are you doing? But you would still be the one making the speech options. You're the one setting the quest marker. They're not. They would be able to put in their little, like, hey, let's go here kind of marker, maybe like the pink or opposite of your light blue that you get. But you wouldn't have to follow that, and it would be kind of like the Ark when you play 2-player, not on a dedicated server, where if they got so far away from you, they're out of bounds of the game. Like, it's only rendering in what you have. You are the server. Your system is the server. So it wouldn't even be any background stuff on, but Bethesda wouldn't even have to have multiple servers running. It would be your system is actually running generation for the field for the game.
This is a really cool concept. I hope we see some of these ideas in future video games.
It's sort of like what we wanted 76 to be to an extent, but you're running into the issue of, at that point, and this is really the gray area with co-op, is that at what point are you still playing an RPG, or are you just playing a multiplayer with quests?
Think of what D&D is. You're at a tabletop with a bunch of other players playing a role-playing game.
But
you have no control of whatever anybody else is doing.
I know, but that's actually the thing about D&D, though, is that you can do that. And this is sort of... Now, granted, we're talking about a perfect game, so I'm going to be a little more lenient on this. But, like, there are still limitations to what an engine can run. And the glorious thing about D&D is that you can do stuff like that. That's why it's so fun. However, when you translate that into multiplayer, like you were saying, like, you would have to be the server then. But then that hurts the experience of the other person who wants to go on their own and rejoin you. So it's just one of those things, like, if we had infinite resources, yes, a game like this would be flat awesome. But I'm really concerned about just the design aspect of making it smooth.
Well, that's why we got to get to the point where we actually make this perfect game.
I mean, God willing, but we'll see.
Well, see, in those aspects of somebody joining you, like, hey, I'm running these quests and stuff, having that option to be like, hey, you're going to be you're my follower, we're going to go do this quest. If you wanted to run the main quest and go, what was it? Find a horn of Jurgen Windcaller in a cave, and that's all you wanted to do tonight. Your friend would also have the option to say no, and that follower would still be an NPC at that point. Follow you. Well, then having a friend be able, what?
But then you could still, give. Maybe you couldn't give them the items, but they could choose whether they want to get experience from that quest that you did as a part of a team, or they could choose whether they want to get that experience by themselves.
Yeah.
But then we run into another issue with that is, what is the game space that the player's playing on based upon just the host? Or does this, and this is where I'm sort of getting at, would you actually want to build a whole new world just for the co-op experience, or do you want to share worlds where that experience doesn't translate into the other person? Because
Well,
that's
see,
how
that's
things
what I'm
actually
saying.
function.
Maybe you
Yeah.
would have two different servers, one server with friends and then one server where you could do your single player, kind of like the Call of Duty menu screen. You would enter, you could hit co-op and it would take you, or multiplayer and it would take you to a whole multiplayer section, or you could hit single player and it would take you there. But it wouldn't really be a multiplayer. It would say co-op of 2 to 4. And
Well-
then that, map could be
Because if you
the
built it
co-op.
Well,
in its
in
own,
like
yeah, go Mike.
like you already have similar aspects of in like Arc. There's that aspect of having your online server group where you have 20, 40 people in a server playing together. But then you also can do where you're hosting a game where they can only go like I would say like 50 like a yard 100 yards out, and then they hit a red wall and then they can't go past that. It tells them turn back. Or you can play solo where you're by yourself. All of those are different games, but you can also take that same character and move them from one to another. Like having your skills and moving them over in that aspect, not necessarily having to follow. In Arc you wouldn't have to follow a storyline, but like in ESO and stuff like that, there's instances for every event. That way, if you wanted to do this and side with this side, you're not affecting someone else's choice of siding with the other side. But having options like that, like if we did an MMO style for that same concept of being able to play with friends, the Civil War could have been a completely different thing. Of you've had a bunch of players join the Stormcloaks and a bunch of players join the Imperials. Now, when you're sieging, like this event on Tuesday, we're sieging Whiterun, and whatever actual side wins that fight is the one that takes over Whiterun. And after that, you could have another siege the next week on Thursday, saying, "Hey, we're going to try to take that over again because we've built up our troops and we're going to try to get it again." And it's an ongoing struggle back and forth to who's actually going to conquer Skyrim, and having those camps and stuff actually having purposes of like, "Hey, this is a point where you can resupply and all that kind of stuff with a." If you've joined that group, or they're hostile when you go through that area.
That would be really, really cool.
But I think that's one of the big issues is like Spencer was talking about the server issues. If it became an MMO, but you have certain, like your main quests and things like that, where everybody wants that individual feeling. Having your instant quests where if I decide to slay Alduin on the top of the mountain, like, no, I guess it's not on the top of the mountain, but slay Alduin, it does not affect someone else's path of running through Alduin, because even still, in the base game, you're still fighting dragons because there's still dragons running around after Alduin's defeated. So you wouldn't affect everybody else's MMO instant moments, because you'd still have those random encounters in the field, and being able to run into other players like on the roads of Whiterun and somebody trying to actually steal your stuff.
And again,
Like it's Yep.
and if you were to add to that, say you're like, hey man, I'm at a level where I want to go slay Alduin, and I'm like, cool, can I come with you? And you're like, yeah. And Spencer's like, I'm not really feeling it tonight. Eric's like, I'm not feeling it. I'm doing my own quest. You and me go slay Alduin, but maybe his health bar slash, even an armor bar would be on there to make it more challenging for you and me. And if there's 3 or 4 people, then his health bar would go up more, or maybe his abilities would be a little more
Diminished.
yeah, or
And
not
have-
diminished, but increased depending on whether there's more people in the party or not. Because it should be harder if there's more people in the party. And that's something that I've experienced with MMOs. Sometimes the encounters are too easy because you have so many people in your party.
but having like that person that actually is at that mission where they're fighting Alduin, being able to defeat Alduin, but the friend that joined you, not actually fighting Alduin, but fighting like an astral dragon or an image of a dragon, or like having that moment where they fight that, finishing that quest, and then you finish the quest, get through the rest of the story stuff, but then they end up waking up in a tavern like it's some weird fever dream.
Well, now we're just doing Dark Souls here. So
Okay.
and this like I mentioned before, like this is a gray area because once we go too much in one direction, it becomes a different genre of game. It doesn't become what we are actually wanting, which is like a
Yeah.
co-op Fallout, Elder Scrolls, Dragon Age experience, etc.
That's why you would have to be really, really careful with how you made this game.
Well,
So, like, a
I think a
company
good
nowadays could
compromise.
not make this game.
I think a good compromise between it would be so like in the last video I was talking with Eric how settlement systems should be their own be considered their own thing. So we could have something
Yeah.
where in let's using Skyrim for instance. Actually, even
Yeah.
let's use a different kind of game. Let's use something where it's like Dead by Daylight or something like that, where you have the individual
Yeah.
story aspect, but there are dedicated areas on the server where everyone can sort of interact with you, or at least the players that you're co-oping with can interact with you, and that the main parts of the story have to be done in that area. So you can meet up with your friends, or you cannot meet up
Yeah.
with your friends. You can still do this solo, but it would be somewhere where there are boundaries to the server where it's only individual experience, and then like in the main part of the map, that's when you can run into your friends questing. So just aspects of like that might be a good compromise between the two different genres because if we go in further in either direction, it either becomes solely an MMO or it's too much of just an individual play.
Right.
I like the aspect of like even keeping people in like there's two things I've got is like how Minecraft did where you actually can pay a monthly subscription to have your own server to be able to play with your friends and be able to have them run anywhere they want on the map and have that aspect. Being able to have something like that where you can actually have a server open for more than just you and one friend, or having it where both of your instances can be in the same map where you could see them running past a town, but then when you enter that building in that town, it is now a solo instance where unless they're actually in your party, it's not affecting what's going on in that house.
That's sort of
Agreed.
You can go into what?
Fallout 76 has actually done a good amount of progress in all of these areas that we've been talking about. I haven't played the game myself in a long time. So, for instance, Fallout 76, you have your own private servers now with Fallout First. So that sort of is its own thing now. You have that same thing happening when you enter buildings for quests and everything. So, for instance, if you're in a party and you enter a building, there's going to be nobody else there if it's a single player space or if it's your party space because there's an actually devoted building to your group now. So they're already implementing that as far as like design and everything in that game. But like I think what because I do like the idea of the party system and I do want to keep that in this like obviously perfect game. But it's just one of those matters of like, at what point does the party system interfere with the other player's decisions? So, for instance, like back to the Stormcloak and everything. If I'm an Imperial and Cody's a Stormcloak and we both walk into Ulfric's office, that's not going to go down well for my character. So, what would be something that we could have either compromise on? Now, would it be they react solely to faction wear? That could be something to look into as a reason.
Yeah.
But if there's like, you know,
Well,
if we're
there's actually I was going to say there's actually a quest where they have a what is it? Not Thane. I'm drawing the blank on the High Elf group.
Aldemary Dominion.
The Aldemary.
Yeah, there's a mission where they actually have an Aldmeri informant dressing up as a Stormcloak or a Imperial soldier, or like a general of both of those sides, to tell you, hey, I've been ordered to have our soldiers go in there and try to loot this place. And when you come back out, that same Aldmeri soldier is dressed as the opposite faction. So
I
having
like that.
that, but you being able to do that as a player, like Spencer was saying, being able to, like, if I chose Imperials, it's like, hey, you can join me, but you've got to be wearing something that's not going to show you as a Stormcloak.
Right, and then maybe, if you don't mind me interjecting, unless you want to continue.
No.
And if say if me and Spencer walk up and he's Imperial and I'm Stormcloak, and I talk to Ulfric, he can still be there, and he'll get the experience that I get when he talks to Ulfric, but Ulfric will say something like, I want you to leave my sight, and that will be the end of his quest line with Ulfric. But then he'll continue his quest line with the Imperial leader instead of Ulfric. But Ulfric can still have an ending dialogue to him saying, I want you to leave my sight. You know, I can't believe you would do this or whatever.
Yeah,
And then
because
he'll
there comes a
leave.
point where the individual players' decisions have to interfere with the co-op experience. That
Yes,
that
and
has
then
to
the person
maintain.
with the person with the faction armor can be the one that he'll talk to and be like, okay, you're obviously loyal to me, you know, thank you for fighting, and he'll still get the same amount of XP, the 500 XP that Spencer got, except they will continue their quest line with Ulfric, and Spencer will continue his quest line with the Imperial.
But
And
that sort of
you
goes
can
back to
solve
what I
that
was
kind of
talking.
thing.
Go for it, Mike.
Well, I'm sorry. You were trying to actually go with a point. I can hold mine.
Okay, so, but that goes back to what I originally said about the Institute and the Brotherhood of Steel. At some point, our factions, we have to fight each other if we are going to go down that road. So at what point... So my main thing is that at what point does that become a conflict for the co-op experience, in the sense of how do you resolve that decision of siding with enemies? Do you have it
I've
in the
got an
faction
answer for
battle
that.
itself, or do you have that...
I'm in the same aspect too.
I've got an answer for that. And what you could do is that's when you could make it, you know, either strategic or persuasive or a decision. And you could all either come to a decision, this is the ending we want to see, or you could come to the decision, hey, let's strategically do this and fight each other, and say you have 4 people, and say Eric and Spencer decide that the Brotherhood of Steel and the Institute are a no-go. So you guys will take us on, and it'll go up to a maybe like a top setting, like an overhead setting like Civilization, and it'll be like a quick battle, almost like Civilization or Halo Wars, and whoever wins, that's the ending we get. Or we could come to a decision like, hey guys, I want to see this ending, and then go into dialogue with each other, and then let the other one win in the dialogue.
Now,
But the dialogue could also be skill checks.
You can also have
So skill checks could save the dialogue, and then for the actual fighting, if you wanted to do combat, it could be like a top-down strategic fight. So it would implement our 2 pieces of RPG I really love, and that's RPG player view and RPG top-down.
now I'm not...
having.
Go for it, Mike.
I was gonna say, you could also have the aspect of, like, you have a party leader, like everybody's gonna have their own instance. There could be a easily somebody's already finished the we've just said the word like 16 times, but the Civil War. Somebody could already have finished the Civil War. So, but they've joined you as another player. You're the party leader. You're doing the co-op run through, but they've finished the Civil War on their playthrough, but they're just joining you in your game to have some fun. It could be where you go up to Ulfric and he's like, he's a known Imperial soldier. Do you vouch for them? Yes, and then you easily can just go on with your story. But if you joined their faction, then, or you joined their game, they're the party leader. Now you still hold your standing as a Stormcloak soldier, but it's now the Civil War has already been solved. There's no issue of both of you, because now you get the little dialogue prompt of asking if you vouch for this soldier, or the war's over. That's outdated attire, giving you something like that.
and you get the XP for the war, but you don't have to necessarily do it.
Yeah.
And then you can do it that way. Kind of like what I was saying with, you could all come to terms with who wins.
Yeah.
But if you didn't want to come to terms with who wins, if you were like, if Mike and me are like, no, the Brotherhood and the Institute deserve it, and you're like, well, let's see about that. It'll go to a top-down view, and then we can play like a strategic mapping game of who would actually win. And with resources and stuff that we've collected throughout the game, that is at each faction location, like faction pieces would be a big part of this. A lot of faction pieces, and those things would be incorporated into the final fight. Now, we can trade between each other, but it has to be crucial. Do I want to give Mike a mini nuke and a mini nuke launcher if he's with the Brotherhood and I'm with the Minutemen, and have him possibly turn on me at the end of the game and want to fight? Or would I be okay with doing that, knowing that Mike is just going to stay an ally? And that could even be an option too. At the end of the game, say we're all in different factions, and we can have a peaceful resolve where each faction can live without any war.
Yeah.
That could be a thing.
Well, I don't disagree
it could
with
go,
the idea of solving it with multiple different player endings, but I think the whole, so let's take your top-down strategy game idea and sort of rethink that for a second. So having that at the end of the game is actually sort of antithetical to what we've been playing through this whole time. Now, if you added that as a part of like the settlement systems and use them to combat each faction that way during the game, then I think that would be fine. But I think what a better resolution to the ending problem of different factions would be to actually have the final battle be the final battle. And what we could do is that we would play an AI version of the person that we were a companion of that whole time. And then that, on our personal end, resolves that gameplay conflict. So then we could have the ending we want while also having the same playthrough.
That's really cool that you incorporated that, because I wanted to add to it and say that what if, as you're going through with the settlement, you could choose whether you want to do a top-down strategic, or you could choose whether you want to do the first-person view and attack that way. So you're either get to be in the battle on the front lines, or you can just be someone that oversees it.
Now, personally, I think the whole strategy idea for the first person, because this is what we're mainly talking about, is a first person RPG. I think the top-down strategy thing is only good for something that's micro, that doesn't involve the actual companions or the co-op experience. If we wanted to do something like that, we would have to sort of redesign what it is we're actually going for as far as the feel. Because the thing about games is that they sort of do have to be consistent to some extent with how their gameplay works. And if we're going to have a top-down system on that, I think, especially in, let's say, in a universe like Fallout, having a common faction like raiders that we all fight against would be a better use of that, rather than have it in between factions until we get towards the end where we're sort of...
not in between factions, but in between protecting settlements and to get more settlements, like kind of like how Fallout is. So we wouldn't use the top down to attack each other, because you did point out the problem with that, but we would use the top down to defend our settlements, or we could use just the first player view. So you would hit like down on the D-pad, and that would give you the map view, and you could fight from up there and control the people, or you could go back down and you could use it to just fight for...
Okay. All right, so we cut out there. What was the summary of the last few points?
But anyways.
The summary of the last few points was, we're never going to get a perfect game.
Mm-hmm.
But the games that you talked about, or your perfect game that you talked about, Spencer, Eric's perfect game, Mike's perfect game, and my perfect game, those are something that the gaming community and developers can get close to, and it's something that I am sure we'll see in the future. But I don't think any of our perfect games will ever be a thing, but maybe the ideas that we've expressed in those games will be something that we will see in the future. That's basically the summary.
Oh, I firmly believe we can make these games possible.
Well, if you think we can, I mean, I'm down. It's just all about our goals. You know, I'm going to be a father first, but like I said, with these things, I can definitely help out and chiming in once a week to do podcasts. And, if I get to a point where my kids are old enough, you know,
By the
to
way,
that point.
everybody, Eric's expecting a kid, so it's his first one.
No, not me.
Congratulations.
Cody.
Cody, sorry, I'm tired. Cody's expecting a kid. So, congratulations, Cody. We're looking forward to it. We pray and we hope that everything goes smoothly. I didn't know if you were announcing that yet.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. I am announcing it.
Okay.
Not to Taylor's family, that's for her to do, but for my friends and family, I have announced it.
Okay.
Basically, we have gotten all of the big stuff: crib, bassinet, changing table, high chair, baby bath, and I even got a topper for the bed to make it more comfy for us. We were able to, just get blessed with the funds to do that. I was able to open up another line of credit, and that put us up to a total debt that's actually not bad at all, something manageable that we can get out of. And I was going to, something I could have done is I could have used it to buy like something more for myself or more for Taylor, but we decided to just go for baby stuff early. It's not for another 8 months. She's not due until May, but we already have the essentials now. So now knowing that we have the essentials, anything in the baby shower is just going to be spoiling the baby. But anything that, like, if the baby came tomorrow, we would have everything we needed besides diapers. So literally, like, we're completely set, and I couldn't be more blessed. I'm excited to be a father, and I hope to raise a little gaming nerd just like us. It's someone that follows Christ. So I'm looking to make a warrior of love is what I'm looking to craft. I don't want to craft something in my image, but I want to craft something in the image that Christ wants it to be crafted in. So a lot of being a father is going to be me getting closer to God, hopefully jumping into the fellowship you guys have, and just really diving into Scripture, because I fully believe that if I dive into the Scripture, that is going to help me build a foundation to be the father that God wants me to be for my child. And they're going to need that 100%. And I'm hoping that I can incorporate this gaming talk and the streams and stuff and just kind of let them do what brings them meaning to life. Even if that's, not being a gamer, even if that's not necessarily being a Christian. I want them to do what brings them meaning to life, but I want to teach, from Scripture itself into being a father. So very excited about that. Thank you for the congratulations. And yeah, man, I'm down to make a game like this, but I just got to be a father first. And that's all. A father and a husband and a family man. And then after those three things, and work, of course, stable income. After those four things, man, definitely like this gaming thing, which I've already been able to put on the back burner without it affecting us. So,
Well, there's a reason why we call it life goals. So,
yes, the four that I mentioned: father, husband, family man, and income. Those I can't fail. But this stuff I'm okay with if it doesn't make it all the way. But the other things have to make it all the way, or I don't know what I'm gonna do, man.
Right. Well, you'll have to tell me what day in May that he's born on. That way, because my birthday is the 15th, so I'm just curious. You got to tell me when.
Everyone's been saying and we actually found a blue pacifier in our love seat that we picked up off of someone 3 days before she found out she was pregnant. So I'm thinking it's going to be a he too.
I have a feeling, but I'm just.
Blue used to be a girl color though, so be careful.
Yeah, pink was a very masculine color back in like the 40s.
That's what I heard actually. And I've got a lot of pink clothing items, and I actually know how to do my nails. So whether it's a boy or a girl, I'm covered, man. I can I can do the nails. I can probably do the hair at some point.
Well, whichever flip of the
Hmm.
coin you get, you're ready.
You're covered, man.
And I'll have you guys close by to help me along the way. That's going to be the cool part because this group is. I know I just met Mike today, but this group has been, really cool to just chat with, and I'm sure fellowship's going to be even better. So
Yeah, we'll have to get you over here at some point, Cody.
Oh yeah.
But
Yeah, and there's not just the one that we go to on Tuesdays. There's several of them. There's one in Lutz that's happened on Sundays as well. So that's the one I also go to as well. I don't think Spence has been there, but I don't think it lines up with his work
I'm
schedule.
not free.
We agree to go over.
I am barely free to
Yeah.
code Tuesdays.
So the Lutz happens on Sunday at 11. That one happens at Tuesday at 7:30. So we can all there's plenty of opportunities to actually get the word in.
that's awesome, man. And that's just what I need is more opportunities. And of course, I can do it at home, and I have, and currently am. But it's better to do with people and shoot those interpretations around and talk about things that someone might disagree on or vice versa. It's not really disagreeing because we all follow exactly what the word says, but there's a lot of misinterpretations of what the word says. And something me and Spencer just talked about was a misinterpretation of how people talk about the word. And the sad thing is they don't necessarily know that they're doing it incorrectly, but everyone seems to perceive the word differently at times, and everyone, I shouldn't say perceive because the word can definitely, one scripture can teach you many things, but what I mean is more so people can misinterpret. And when we teach misinterpretations, whether on purpose or not, it's still going to harm either a lot of people or the person doing it. So
We're running on a translation of a translation. There's bound to be something that's been misconstrued somewhere.
Yeah, just even tonight
right,
when we
so
were going through the meeting,
you know
there was just a translation between he and she, and it changed the meaning on it. So it's just one of those things where in time you'll start learning what you should be looking out for.
Yeah, and yeah, there's lots of them, but sorry, there's one thing on our gaming topic subject that I don't understand why it's not in games, but we have so many inventories of like miscellaneous items. We have pots, we have books, we have cups, we have fusion cores. Why do we not have an option for an improvised weapon?
that
It's
would be really
because
cool.
Bethesda did not want to devote the resources to that.
We have a weight. We can do a weight to damage percentage. Like something that weighs 50 pounds, you might have a motion value based on that. Just a simple algorithm to a weight to motion value of being able to have that in your hand and smack somebody with it.
Legit, Mike, when you said that, I can only think of like I'm sitting at a table, I immediately go, think fast, and just throw a brick at and cause.
Yeah, I'm thinking of when I'm mining ore, or because I just did the transmute thing so I could build my smithing up. Mining iron ore, you're making that tinking noise. A bandit comes up behind you. You take that same iron ore that you just got and smack somebody, like chuck it at them. Like that's the exact thought that ran through my head.
Or maybe they should
Why is
just
that not
add something with the unarmed skill to have junk have damage when you throw it or something.
like one-handed or two-handed, depending on the weight? Like something over 50 pounds, you can pick up with two hands and smack somebody with.
That sounds like something Eric would be
That
good
would
at.
be awesome.
Yeah.
Yes. So, Mike, have you heard the story of Eric and Ark Survival?
Oh my gosh, I was wondering if you were gonna
I
bring this
haven't.
up.
He
No,
already
I have
did
not.
technically, but
No, but he didn't. But Mike didn't hear. I was wondering if
short
Cody was
version.
going to do
Yeah, it was a
my days are
brief
mixing together.
passive
Whatever.
conversation at the beginning.
We'll give you the short version of it, but I'll let Eric
That is
go
just the
because
version
he
of it,
hasn't
though.
had.
It's very short because it happened a long time ago. I think it was the 3 or 4 of us. I don't know. It was Mike, you, another Mike,
Yeah.
and Cody. Yeah, it was like 4 of us. Okay, so I was back at our campsite, and we had this like stone, I don't know, some sort of wooden house, and everybody went off to gather supplies, except for Cody. Cody was around, and some dude comes up, attacks Cody, and pretty much kills him. I'm literally a few feet away. Like, I don't know why the dude didn't hit me first. So I'm gathering twigs or whatever wood, and I see him pretty much kill Cody. And I come up behind him, and I didn't have any weapons because it's like early in the game. So I grab
When he
Yeah.
says pretty much in this game you can knock someone out, and so
Yeah.
I was like unconscious. Yeah.
Yeah. Mike knows Ark. I mean, he already talked. I'm pretty sure he's
Yeah,
played it. So
I've played it. I've had several run-ins with some weird
right,
fucking people.
right.
Sorry,
So
language, but
right. So I grab a rock and I just start banging this dude's head and like just his skull into the ground. I just literally knock him out, knock him out, knock him out. And then he's literally knocked out, and I hear this little voice. I don't know, like, just like crying for help, whatever it is. And then I just keep on beating him, and it took over. I'm like, Cody's in trouble. I'm the only one, and I don't even know why I did it. I just grabbed a rock and I just started just hitting him, and I'm like, that's not what you do. And I just did it. And the dude's like, what's going on, bro? What you do? And, and next thing you know, it's dead. And Cody's literally kind of faced up, and he sees the whole thing, and so he's dying on his mic laughing, and that's pretty much the whole story.
And then shortly after that, we decided to take our shelter and put it on the water. Open
You
water,
had
get
to
away
tell
from
this
everyone.
story.
It was
You
a
had to
disaster.
tell
That was
this
a
story.
disaster.
This is a disaster. Poor Spencer finally he has a separate boat because at this point we have two boats. Okay, but one boat has shelter on it and a roof and the other one doesn't. Spencer finally he comes back with some resources and he gets onto our boat. He puts it next to us, gets onto our boat. And as soon as he steps foot onto our boat, I swear a pterodactyl came out of nowhere, grabbed him, picked him up, and dropped him over the land.
Yep.
And then there was me and Eric with 2 boats, all the resources. Spencer got lifted up. Eric got lifted up shortly after that. Then I got lifted up, and we all got dropped on land. And we realized that we couldn't play Ark Survival.
Yes.
oh no.
But I think my
we couldn't
exact
even get a
wording, because
shelter.
I did post this video online on my original YouTube channel before I deleted it. And I think my exact words were, we were just talking, chatting. I was just up on the roof messing with something. And I immediately, like, I was looking at my map. I get picked up. I turn it off. And my first words were, well, guys, I'm out of here. So I'll be seeing you later. And there's a freaking pterodactyl. He drops me. I'm just like, I get killed by a freaking pterodactyl in the random of the ocean for no good reason.
Oh,
It
that
was
reminds me of my brother. Yeah, me and my brother playing Ark for the very first time. We're on a server by ourselves, butt naked, just trying to build this house in the middle of, like, I think it was Zone 3 on a hill, middle of the woods. We cleared out all the dinosaurs, had this little mud hut, and there's this guy called Mr. Sick that just is like stalking us in the distance of the woods, like close to render distance, is just sitting there, and we're watching him. And every time we turn our backs, he's in a different spot, and all he does is runs up, gets close enough to us, and gets us like all of the diseases, and then runs away. And this
That's
happens
actually
like
very
6 times, and finally, like, and he did this for like 3 days because me and my brother would play at the same time every day, and he would be on and it didn't matter where we are. We just see this butt naked dude come at us named Mr. Sick, and he just run at us to the point where me and my brother have bows, and we're like, stay back, like standing next to the water. And all of a sudden, I look over, and a megalodon beaches itself on the side of the
Oh
it just
my
beaches
god.
itself and takes out my brother. And then I'm running. Mr. Sick is chasing me, and next thing I know, I just see a what is it? The alpha like T-Rex looking thing. I
There's
think it's
no
a
mercy.
Allosaurus.
There's no
Yeah,
mercy.
alpha like an alpha Allosaurus is chasing is like right behind Mr. Sick. So I'm running my butt off. Mr. Sick is running, and then we have this Alphasaurus that just like takes him, whips him in the air, and then is chasing me relentlessly. I get in the water and am attacked by a horde of piranhas, and I'm like, I don't think this game's for me.
Well, they don't say
And this is like,
survival for nothing.
yeah, it was just, oh,
Oh, that's
moments,
funny.
moments like that. It's just like, you can't get past it, and yeah, you just can't make those moments on solo Play-Doh. Like, you
No.
just can't.
Right. And it's like, I think you all got off, and I was addicted to Ark for a while. But I guess I got back on, I don't know, Saturday. It was one of those days. And we were on early. They all got off. I went to go have something to eat. I came back, and before I got off, there was these, I don't know, 3 people trying to take on this huge, I don't know, dinosaur. I don't know what it was.
Yeah.
And it was taking them forever to kill him. And I'm like, you're all gonna die. This is so stupid. And it was right where I pretty much murdered that dude that killed Cody. It was the same place. It was like a few days later I saw this. I'm like, you guys are so stupid. It's like, this dude's gonna kill you. I come back from lunch 3 hours later, and they killed it with only like 3 people. I'm like, there's no way, dude. Like, someone had to come out and help. But anyways, so I get
I
you.
love the fact that you see those kind of things. You see them struggling, and then like 30, 45 minutes later, you go near that area and they're riding the damn thing.
Yeah.
That-
I
that's-
wasn't even gonna help him. I'm like, this is so stupid. I mean, I'm like, I could go help you kill it, but then you could kill me, and I have a lot of resources. So I'm like, I'm just gonna go have something to eat. And then they come back. I'm like, wait a minute, you're harvesting it now for meat? It's like, there's only 2 of you.
Yeah.
How did you do it? But anyways,
Like
so
seeing moments like that, or like you locking yourself in your steel base that you've just made,
right.
thinking that you're safe, and then all of a sudden you see somebody chuck a monkey through the window to unlock your door. Like, why is that a thing? Like, how is that? Like,
That's
I would never even think of to chuck a monkey through a door to unlock the door to come at you.
That sounds like someone who Googled something to just say, let's see what else we can do in this game to,
Yeah.
you know.
I'm trying to log off, and all of a sudden I see a monkey chuck through the window. It's like, well, this is not safe. I can't lock this thing. Like,
Right.
nothing I can do.
Right. There's no glass, so yeah.
A monkey walks
Yeah,
into a
it's just-
bar. That's it. That's all I had.
Pretty tall monkey.
I was gonna say, where's is that going? But okay.
Uh,
Oh yeah.
yeah.
yeah,
I don't know
it-
if you want to edit out, but there was a joke about a bunch of poachers and an elephant and a monkey that I remember from childhood, and it makes me laugh every time I think about it. I don't know if you guys want to hear it though. But
I think because it's getting
I can
midnight
tell-
now, and I think we might have to save
Yeah.
that one for later.
all right, I can tell you some other time, but I don't think it's fellowship appropriate.
All right, a lot of things we do is not fellowship appropriate, so
I get you.
Yeah.
But-
And just so you know, Mike, I'm not. Most of you guys are up to speed with Bethesda and Fallout. That's not
Yeah.
a lot of stuff that I play. I've only played it once or twice. Spence knows it's not my usual background with games.
no.
The-
Eric is
the only one
into
that I
what
get
we
into
call
is-
simulators.
Yeah, I'm into the simulators and
He's
the crafting
currently
type
playing a
games,
cooking
so.
There's
simulator,
something.
which
It's good.
which
something-
really has me
don't
confused
hate it.
because you can probably do the same thing in real life.
Yes, but the ingredients I have, I don't have a kitchen like this. This is like Food Network start like kitten like style
Oh,
kitchen.
nice.
I don't have these ovens.
Is
you
Gordon
know, and
Ramsay
all
going
these
to come in out of nowhere?
ingredients. No,
Wait.
dude, that'd be Stalker Lake. And
Are
I'll
you doing
leave.
VR or PC simulator?
PC,
Oh.
PC. Yeah,
Telling
but
you,
it does come in VR though.
a lot of those games like even the RPGs in VR give you a whole nother feel.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I think there's a mod that just came out for PC Skyrim where you can actually pick up anything. Like you actually
Mhm.
have to grab them and pick them up to pick up something off the shelf.
Hmm.
So the things that you're like sitting on the ground and you're grabbing something from the ceiling that's like 5 feet out of your distance, you
Mhm.
actually have to jump on the table and jump to go grab that out of off the
Right,
wall.
right.
So those kind of aspects of doing that kind of stuff is, I don't know,
Yeah.
like
All right.
that goes into more of the survival feel.
Legitimate question.
Yeah.
At what point are we going to actually just go on our own adventures, or are we going to be paying thousands of dollars to feel like we're going on our own adventures?
I still go. I like me and the Nathies and Bars went on to climb Katahdin in Maine. We don't. It's not that I don't do adventures, but when I'm sitting at home, I want to see some weird world that we can't have here.
Mm-hmm.
Like I can't go back to medieval times and fight a dragon.
Yeah, like No Man's Sky.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, you could, but that would
like being able.
involve certain kind of shrooms, but that's a whole different issue.
Hey, what happens at the D&D table stays at the D&D table.
Very true.
Yeah, I still have a set of steel dice that are sitting in my truck right now because I don't play anymore.
Well,
But I still
we
enjoy
were
my.
going to try to. I don't know if Cody, if you're still here, but
Yes, sir.
we were going to try to get a D&D thing set up, but it just none of us are having the time right now. So I'm hoping that's something that we can
Yeah.
actually do for this at some point, but we'll wait and see what happens because I don't know. I always wanted to get into D&D, but
I
I
don't
just
have any more of my books, but I definitely know where to look up all the.
okay. Maybe
Yeah.
maybe we can just start researching
No.
it and get that going. So, but
I would have loved to play some. It's something I've always longed to play, to be honest, but I just haven't gotten around to doing it because I know, people have to be on the same schedules,
Oh yeah.
et cetera, et
well, we
cetera.
can do it
Tuesday
Tuesday
playing is because
nights
I had to give up
also.
every Sunday at like 3 p.m. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fair enough.
I mean, I'd
And
probably observe first and then see.
well, it's one of those things that you jump in and your character seems kind of rough, and then you just kind of start getting into character and getting the feel of what it's not something that like observing, like you can do that by watching that on like what's the group,
I think I know. who
like
you're
the
talking
Mighty Nine and all them.
about.
I forgot what they're called, but yeah, there's many of videos that do the similar aspect of that, of just watching, but it's a completely different feeling when you actually play. And it is rough at beginning, like getting into the social like social points is kind of odd, but highlight moments like when I ended up getting sick because I ate some like raw chicken and didn't realize it was raw because I ate it from the inn thinking it was completely good, and the guy didn't know how to cook. And next thing I know, my cleric is in the middle of the lake shitting himself and screaming because he can't get away from what's following him. Like he completely soiled himself. His trousers are all the way down, and he could not get into anywhere because everywhere was closed. And then getting in trouble by the guards, and I'm just sitting there, Donald ducking it and getting yelled at by the guards, trying to hold in my faculties. Like
Wow. Well,
those moments, can't you can't script those. You just go with whatever flow's going.
right.
And
On that
Right.
note, good
it
night,
doesn't.
everybody.
Good night,
Nice,
guys.
No,
But-
I'll talk to you guys
Nice
again
meeting
soon,
you
but
too, Mike.
I'm
Yeah.
Yeah,
currently
you too.
passing out and I cannot stay up much longer.
I understand.
So
I've got a couple more hours before I wake up at 6 a.m. I'll be fine.
I gotcha. Well,
Guys,
I'm gonna stay on if anybody else wants to talk, but if everybody gets off, then I'll get off.
I'll stay
I
on,
am
bro.
Okay.
getting off. I've been
I'm
up since
good.
3
I got
a.m.
nothing.
So I'm
Yeah,
gonna say,
I've done that before, Spence. You know me. I've done that
yeah.
before. I've done that shift before.
Oh, this
Oh
is
yeah.
my life now. I don't get sleep. So, um,
Oh
but
yeah.
Well,
anyways, thank you
I
guys for
may see you
joining me.
Saturday, Spence. So,
Maybe. I'm hoping I'm working Saturday. I don't know my schedule that far ahead right now. They're all blurring. All the days are blurring together. Hello, everybody, and thank you for watching our podcast. We do appreciate it. We will try to be uploading our podcast videos every Saturday. If you guys want to catch us when we do our podcast live, feel free to follow us on Twitch. The link will be in the description below, along with all of our other links to our personal channels. And in the meantime, I wish you all a wonderful, blessed rest of the night, and I will see you all again soon. Peace.